My name is Craig Forman. I am a senior people scientist at Culture Amp. I've done a lot because it's the passion that I have for this work and helping the world work better by improving the places we work.
I love it. So what is the passion exactly? We're here at the Achieve Employee Engagement Conference. You got to share some of your passion in your keynote today, and loved the content. Absolutely loved watching the reaction of the participants, just taking pictures of the slides and really learning from you on a very simple base, but what is it that drives your passion?
Well, like I just said, I think about 6 years ago I got really clear on my purpose and my mission, and I really think fundamentally it's important for anybody. It may be culture, maybe something else. Mine is to help the world work better by improving the places we work. Leading up to that, there were a lot of things that aligned with that, but that's when it kind of really codified into what I'm doing in this world. So fundamentally, that's my passion. But really trying to simplify and make this less complex for organizations. And I think behind a lot of the work that I do, we talk broad, but I'm also trying to talk to people here. Fundamentally, if we all show up and we think about how we're showing up every day, how can we impact culture as a leader, as an individual contributor? Because fundamentally, I think if we individually are the change, that we can change a lot. So I think in a lot of the work that, even the talk I spoke today, we take this big concept but try to drive it down to very basic things.
Right, and I see you do that very well, because it's interesting as you're talking about that one component of hitting people in the heart, and these are people that we're dealing with, and this is progress, and helping people achieve their full potential, very much like this non-data driven thought sometimes, but Culture Amp is bringing data to that. And you talked a lot about the process of collect, understand, act, and what are we doing to not only have great stories, but put some data behind it as well. So tell us a little bit about that part. How are we starting to measure culture in organizations?
Well, I guess we've been measuring culture probably for a long time. I mean, I'll talk both about the data, and I think we talk a lot about this too with our tools. It's using our tools to collect good data, but to help data inform the story, right? If I come to you and start talking about data, a little part of your left brain lights up. If I tell you a story, with data included, your whole brain starts to light up, right? So that's not lost on me and on us, that we're trying to teach organizations how to use tools like ours to get solid data, but then not report back just on data, but to tell stories about the data, because that's how we're going to impact change. The stories are the emotional piece, the emotional hook.
I see.
We talked about that. If I send you an email that's just, our employee engagement is at 65% and our managers are at, 72%, so we need to do X, Y, Z. It's not very compelling, right? But we talk about how 2 out of 3 of our engineers feel that they're not appreciated here, right? Now, human-wise, we got to connect the emotions and the data, and the data really validates, right? Especially when we're talking to leadership. Right? Leadership is they work on data. They're making lots of decisions, lots of data coming in. Typically, that's how leadership works. But when we can couple and teach organizations how to leverage data with a story and crafting the right stories, and I think that's what I try to do in my talk, right? I open with some really good data, but I don't stick and hang on the data. I really want to talk about the purpose, like the Enzo we spoke about, and what that means to us. It's the process and the journey and getting away from this idea of data, engagement, score versus what's your process. The score is your outcome, but it's what are the behaviors, and believing those behaviors to impact engagement and helping organizations focus. So you asked how the data informs it, and I think what we're seeing now, what we're doing is being able to take good data, collect good data, understand that, so how to have a tool that helps you make sense of that, and what you should focus on, and then how to take action, right? So that's the focus we've been using, and a lot of that's really aligning the data with kind of the outcomes. So helping an organization know we've got a lot of data, but if we need to focus on 2 or 3 things, what's going to have the biggest impact on whatever outcome, in this case engagement, what should that be?
Yeah, so it's interesting as we talk about the word engagement. Employee engagement is kind of like the hot button concept here. Is how do we engage employees in the workspace? But it seems like you're talking in a much more holistic, almost it's the experience of the employee that matters. It's the experience of the manager and how we're crafting that experience to be one of both productivity, creativity, and just downright humanistic work.
Yes.
So very powerful. So where do we go from here? Organizations are starting to get tools like Culture Amp. They're starting to track their culture. They're starting to emphasize that and use that as their competitive advantage.
Yeah.
What does that look like moving forward?
Where do we go from here? I think we go from here, it's a big question. I think we're on the path. I'm really excited about what we're seeing. I think that the conversation is changing. I think that 5 years ago, we're probably trying to sell engagement more. Now people get it. It's just how. Like they want it, but how to get there is the challenge.
Yeah.
I think that where do we go from here in regards to, I think what's the next stage for me, a couple things. One is the difference between comparing ourselves to other organizations. I think right now organizations are still looking to like, who's the Google, Google's been the leader. And realizing that we can be influenced, but every organization is like its own family. You have to like be inspired by those organizations, but do your own thing. So don't get fixated on the scores themselves. It doesn't matter. Run your surveys, get your scores, and start there. And just move the needle. Be inspired by others, but don't try to be others, I think is a big piece. And when organizations start to really just say, like, we're going to own this ourselves, and tools like ours are like emphasizing that, take it back. Don't outsource your culture through consultants or other people to come in and tell you what to do, and we're going to offer you the training. Like, use a tool like ours. It's going to be a great dashboard and an indicator to tell you where to look. Go look there, and then trust your organization that you can come up with your own solutions. I think where we go from here is that employees are becoming more and more savvy. There's more and more information out there. You can't kind of bluff your employee experience out to the world like people know. So it's forcing the organization to really work on it. And listen. And I guess that's, culture ramp, we talk about listening, but just in general, it's a human dynamic. People want to be seen and heard. Put tools in place, listen to them, but you got to take action.
Yeah.
All of us have been in a situation, if somebody asks you a question or wants some insight and you think something's going to change and nothing happens, it's demoralizing. Absolutely. But if you start to get feedback and you're watching things change, your organization, trust builds, you'll continue. And it's not a survey, and we talked about this today, it's the cycle. Like, collect, understand, act, do something, repeat. Get that muscle going, and think of this as Simon Sinek says, like the infinite game. This is not about the short term. Play the infinite game. Start listening to your people, build an organization for the future, and it's not a one and done. Just keep listening, iterating, listen, iterate, and get in that cycle with your employees.
Wonderful. That is great information, Craig. Thank you so much for sharing today.
You're absolutely welcome. It's always a pleasure, and I hope that was helpful.